Happy Wednesday, everyone. Thanks for hopping on our webinar. I'm Brad Heath, owner of Double D Trailers. In the co-pilot seat, we have Caleb Norris, and Brooke Norris. In case you didn't pick up on that, last names are the same. They are happily married. We're all sitting about an arm's length apart in here, so I can touch Caleb right now. And Brooke is my oldest daughter. Caleb is my son-in-law. So we're a family-owned company. It's our pleasure to be able to join you guys today. We appreciate you taking the time to sit and listen to us. So let's dive right in. So today we're going to be talking about GVWR. Initially, I was worried about like, what am I going to talk about on GVWR? I mean, I could answer the question pretty quickly, and then it's like crickets. But the more we got into the presentation and putting everything together, the more excited that I became. So we're just going to discuss the math and try to simplify things for you guys. And we've got 5 points that we'll cover. At the end, we'll take a couple of questions that were submitted. And by the way, we had a lot of submissions for this webinar. If you have to hop off early, don't worry about it. We'll be sending out the recordings tomorrow. And while it's on my brain, the next one in 2 weeks or so I think is May the 20th. So we'll post that link as well and you guys can sign up for the next one if you like. So what we're going to cover this morning, the two matter, payload and tow rating. We have some case studies, and I'm really excited about that. Tabby's case, Akil and Danielle, Dana's case, the right way to do it with the Honda Ridgeline, and then Catherine's case, the SUV trap. Power doesn't equal carrying capacity. So GVWR, that simply means gross vehicle weight rating, right? There's nothing else, but we wrote a book a couple years ago. Brooke had the idea to do that. She said, Daddy, why don't you just write a book and really simplify things? And so I started looking at all these terms, the GCWR, GAWR. My head really started hurting just looking at all that. And I was like, wow, this is super confusing. And there's really only two numbers that we need to look at. What your truck can pull, right? And what your truck can carry. There's nothing else. So those two, payload and tow rating, is what we'll focus on today. And of course, your truck's ability to pull, it's almost never the problem. It's the ability to carry the tongue weight that causes accidents. And we'll get more into that. Pulling versus carrying. I think this will be the last slide before we jump into the case study. So we recently had the privilege of attending the Equine Fair in Columbus, Ohio, as well as the Midwest Horse Fair in Madison, Wisconsin, just in the month of April. So we had a very busy month. We were presenters at the show. They invited us to speak on horse trailer safety and towing and things like that. And I did an analogy that my wife, she wanted to rearrange the bedroom. And of course, I had to move the dresser around. And I said, oh, that really makes a lot of sense. And I demonstrated that at the show. So what you can pull versus what you can carry. And I'll play that really quickly. Hopefully you guys can hear that.
No audio. You may have to voice over there.
You don't have audio in yours?
No.
All right, I have it on mine. Okay, so the crazy guy that you see jumping around in the video is me. And the only thing I did was walk up to a table. So imagine you're in your bedroom if you're a guy and your wife is saying, hey, let's rearrange. We need to move the dresser. Or if you're a female and your husband or spouse or significant other is just too lazy to help you. So what you can pull, you can probably drag that dresser around, maybe get behind it, push it, what have you. But if you have to pick one end of the dresser up, right? This is what you can carry. And it's the same thing on tow vehicles. So on the slide to the left, we've got pulling muscle. The slide to the right, we've got carrying. So this is really the sticking point when it comes to towing and just trips up a lot of folks. All right, let's jump on. All right, Tabby's trailer, the VIN plate lie. Caleb, can you just give us a quick summation on Tabby? Not necessarily the numbers, we've got those on the screen, but bring everyone up to speed on what she has there.
All right. Yeah. So Tabby reached out, I believe for this webinar. She may be on it if you are. Hey, Tabby. Hope you're well. So she has an older LQ. You got your notes on the screen there.
Okay.
Um, she has an older LQ. It's a 26-foot box roughly, and she was really just trying to figure out if her truck that she has was adequately rated. She sent a picture, and you could visibly see the truck is squatting under the load of her trailer, and so just trying to determine what she needs to do, if the trailer is overloaded for the truck, and if she needs to upgrade tow vehicles, that kind of thing.
So first of all, GVWR, I don't know if it'll show up on your screen, but in the top left corner, 9,760 pounds, and tire size is 7.5. It's got a 16-inch rim on there. The GAWR, if you really focus in on that, it's 7,000. That means the trailer has two 7,000-pound axles. Now, in the horse trailer industry, a majority of the manufacturers are going to rate the gross vehicle weight rating what the thing will haul. And that generally just boils down to what the axles are rated for. So if you have two 7,000-pound axles times two, that means the trailer's GVWR would be 14,000 pounds. And if we really want to get technical about it, you could add in what the tongue weight on that would be and add that to the GVWR. Maybe there's a couple of manufacturers in the US that do that, but the majority that are out there, they simply stamp the GVWR at the axle capacity. So we know on Tabby's trailer, she has a 14,000 pound GVWR. Whatever the reason, this particular manufacturer stamped it at 9760. And that's the actual weight of the trailer. So kudos to them because Tabby now doesn't have to go and weigh her trailer. For whatever reason, these guys did that. But so she has the weight of what the trailer is. When we started looking at her tow vehicle, let's see, you can see her truck is kind of squatted over to the side. And she basically wanted to know, she says, hey guys, this is what I've got. I want to make sure that my load is safe, that my vehicle is safely rated to haul this load. And more than likely, the vehicle's rated to pull it, okay? But will it carry it? And when we're looking at this picture at the back end sort of squatted down there, it makes me take pause. Now, if we jump to the next screen, I was able to find this tow chart. So Tabby confirmed that she has a V10 engine. So that's the really large 110 cylinder. It's an F250. We can see that from the photos. I sort of guessed it was a 4x4. It looks like it. And you can see two numbers here that I circled, 10,400 versus 13,400. That's going to be determined based on the axle ratio. So manufacturers of tow vehicles, they don't make this information easy to follow nor easy to figure out. So that's why we're just going to try to dumb it down, so to speak, so we don't have to get a degree just to try to figure out if our tow vehicle is safe.
Why don't truck manufacturers do that? Why don't they make it clear and easy to read?
Well, if I am let's just say, a Ford manufacturer, right? I'm going to brag about, as a manufacturer and all of my advertisements, this big number. Oh, it'll tow 13,400 pounds. Okay. And then the Chevy guys or the GMC or the Dodge or whomever, they say, hey, ours will pull 14,000 pounds. It's even better. And so unsuspecting consumers, they look at that big number and they say, okay, well, my trailer weighs 8. I've got 3 horses. That's 9, 10, 11. The truck will pull 14,000 pounds. I've got plenty of capacity. What they don't tell you is the payload. And the payload, remember in my dresser analogy or the little thing I did at the show where I was dragging the trailer, the table around, is what you can lift. So what it'll carry, what that tongue weight is, how much weight are you actually pressing down in the back of the tow vehicle? And the reason I think, Caleb, I don't know what your opinion is, but I think the reason that they don't do that is a lot of them are ashamed of it, you know. Not to pick on the Dodge owners out there, because we work with a lot of folks with Dodge pickups, but in comparison to Ford, Chevy, Dodge, and the major manufacturers, Dodge has historically the lowest payload rating of any of the manufacturers that are there. So really high tow capacity is just not quite as much when it comes to carrying. So what we recommended back to Tabby, simply take the tow vehicle and the trailer to a weight scale. They're everywhere. They hardly charge much of nothing, less than $50 to weigh that. So you could weigh the tow vehicle, you know exactly what the truck weighs. You can look at the GVWR of the truck. Let's say the truck has a 7,000 pound GVWR, and then it has a weight of 5,000. That means you have 2,000 pounds left that it can carry. And that's what the payload is. So you could literally take the truck and trailer to a scale, weigh the vehicle, you'll know what that is. Weigh the trailer, you'll know what that is. And then you can weigh the vehicle with the trailer hooked up on the scale, but the back tires of the trailer are not on the scale. And so that way you know exactly what the trailer's tongue weight is. And with those numbers, we can quickly figure out if a load is safe or not. Now, same thing, I guess, Caleb, with tow vehicles in horse trailer manufacturers. Very few manufacturers actually list the weight of the trailer on their stickers. We don't
Yeah,
and
I've
never
I've
have.
never I've never seen it until Tabby sent the picture
Yeah, other than
with
these
the
guys.
yeah, it's very unusual.
Don't do that. And then also, we don't list tongue weight. And I know the reason that we don't is because we custom build in-house. And so literally every single trailer is different. Sure, we can guesstimate it, but and we do that. We have some formulas where we can tell pretty closely what it is. But yeah, and the only way we could do it would be to weigh every single trailer. So any questions on Tabby's dilemma here?
Well, let me ask you, so in her particular situation, say she ends up weighing everything, and would she say she's within 10% of her payload capacity? Does she need to get a new truck, or what could she do in this specific situation with her setup?
Well, if you look at our little sidebar here, and does my cursor show up on your screen? Yeah, as I'm moving it all around. So if she has that 373 gear ratio, that means she has a 10,400 pound full capacity. The trailer by itself, we just figured out, weighs 10,000 pounds, right? 9,760 by the time she puts a few saddles in it.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting the horses. So if she puts three horses in it, so she'll be at 13,000 pounds. If she has the 4.3 gear ratio, the tow rating, according to this Ford tow chart, is 13,400. So yeah, she would be at the top end of her tow capacity. One thing to keep in mind, though, about manufacturers is if they say it will safely tow 13,400 pounds, you could tow 13,400 pounds with it. So I'm not super concerned about being at the top end because in engineering and with NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, all the federal regulations of vehicle manufacturers, they have to have some cushion built into what their capacities are. So that means that the engine, the transmission, the chassis, the tires, the axles, they're all strong enough to handle that 13,400 pounds. The problem with that, even if if she can pull it, I don't think that the truck will be rated to carry the thing. Because you've got to think, Caleb, on a living quarter, she's probably pushing 30% of tongue weight, which is 3,000 pounds. And I don't know
Yeah.
if that particular vehicle is going to have that 3,000 pound rating or not.
Yeah, even if it does, she probably would be that would be her payload. She wouldn't have any room for passengers and stuff. Just
All right.
curious.
Yeah. Thanks, Tabby, for sending that. So really, I would love to know that payload. If you would send that to us, we need the GVWR of the truck. We could probably get that from the VIN from Ford and then weigh the truck. And the difference between those two numbers will certainly give us the payload rating. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, moving on to Akil and Danielle. So this was a 2018. It was a double D safe tack reverse living quarter, same trailer, three different owners and two hard lessons. So I think that yeah, I think that you guys will really enjoy this one. Caleb, can you give us a quick rundown on that?
Yeah, so you sold the trailer originally to a customer, and I'm not sure what happened along the way. She sold it, and another fellow reached out and was looking to purchase, and he ended up buying it from a dealer or some sort. And we went through all the numbers and all the math, and he got it to his place, I believe he's somewhere in California, and he was like, "Man, this trailer is too much, too much." So he's like, "What can I do? This was, I think, their first time owning a trailer." And so we listed it for them. We had another customer who reached out through the listing. We're like, "Hey, we're interested." So they purchased it. So Akil was the one who purchased it initially on the rebuy, and then Danielle is the current owner. She purchased it, and then when she purchased it, then it came into equation. She's like, "We love the trailer. They're actually living in it, doing some stuff with, I believe, with their horses." And she's like, "We just need to figure out a truck," because she's like, "This thing is honking big." And the unique thing about this particular trailer, as you can see in the pictures, so it is a two-horse reverse load, but it is strictly reverse load because the original customer ordered it with mangers or with a manger. And so we had to make it reverse load only. And because of the size of the living quarters, it's a 13-foot short wall with slide out. The wheel well, or the axles, as you can see, they're pretty far back. And so what happened is the tongue weight on this one is more than would be typical of that 30%. I think it's closer to 35%. And so they were like, "We got to figure out a truck situation." So that's what they reached out. And yeah,
All right, so let me get this in my head. We sold the trailer originally the one customer back in 2018. She used it a few years, listed it for sale. Danielle purchased, Akil. Akil
Akil
purchased.
purchased it. Yep. And then he
Wh-
got it. He actually got it
Oh,
to his barn and property, and then was like,
did he
and we
ever
went,
use it?
I don't think so. We went through all the numbers and everything, and he was like, um, "Yeah, this is just too much for us."
Hmm. And did you just use the word honking big?
I don't know that if I said honking
Honking
big,
big.
but it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
honking big trailer.
That's a Brad term, but I'll let you borrow that for the day. So let's see. Akil says I bit off more than I can chew. He had a 2024 F450. So not a 250, not a 350, but a 450.
450.
He had an F450, and that honking big truck was not enough oomph to pull the honking big trailer. Is that what
Well,
we're
it wasn't the pull, it was the payload because of that truck. So what's a lot of people don't understand or realize with those 450s and 350s or 3500s, 4500s, typically most of the time they're built on the same chassis. They
ah,
just have a heavier engine. And so the payload, like I looked at it, the same truck, but in a F350 actually had a higher payload capacity because it had a different engine.
got it.
Um, and so that was where the kind of the weak link in his particular situation was.
Got it. Got it. So Ford, let's just say they buy a bunch of tires and axles and the same chassis, and then depending on how much stuff they stack on that determines what the payload is. Bigger engines means less payload.
For this particular one, yeah, is what I when I looked it up.
Hmm. Okay. And Akil paid around 60 grand for that. Had to sell it in 2 months, listed it at 75,000. So luckily, it wasn't an expensive mistake. I don't know exactly what Danielle paid for it, but Akil purchased it at a really good value, and our brand holds value better than most out there. So he was able to get back out of that. Now, do we have? I just want to look at these numbers really quick. So his truck payload in round numbers, 4,800 pounds. The trailer empty was 13,800. So it's almost 14,000, right? And the
Correct.
tongue weight was 4,800. So his payload, which is what he can carry, is 4795. The tongue weight weighed 4820. So he was over by 25 pounds. Now, is that going to, break the vehicle? Remember, we talked about that extra, right, that engineers have to build into that? Certainly not. In that scenario, the truck would have been, and of course, that was with the trailer empty, but generally, when you put the horses in there, the tongue weight is not going to change that much. So he would have been at the very top end, probably over his rated payload capacity, but he would have been very close on that.
And he could have done, the airbag suspension also too, right?
He could have done airbags. Of course, that's not going to change that payload number for us. But in Tabby's case, where the back end of the truck was squatted down, if the trailer has a 3,000 pound tongue weight in her scenario, and the truck's rated to haul 3,000 or 3,200 pounds, and it's squatted down, she could put an airbag under it, lift the back end back up. And what that does, you got to think, if this is the truck and it's sitting like this, and you pick that back end up, it throws more weight back to the front tires of the tow vehicle, and it definitely increases the stability. So that's why you don't want to go riding down the road in your tow vehicle, whether it's a gooseneck or a bumper pull, and it's just squatted. Like one of the teenagers, I think my son did that back in the day. They like to squat the back end of the truck. Let's see. Before we jump into Danielle, so this is the actual cat sticker, right?
Hold on.
And
We got one question. Was the trailer even rated to carry the horses? Or that?
Oh,
That's good.
that's a great question.
Yep.
So the trailer had uh, two 7,000 pound axles underneath. That's a great question. So you've got two 7,000 pound axles. Let's look at Danielle. I think that, yes. So Danielle buys a, and she says, "Holy cow, I can only haul 600 pounds. Are you kidding me? I just spent how much on this thing? 60, $70,000. And I can put my saddles in it. And then after that, I'm overloaded." So this was the panic. It actually had a 14,400 pound GVWR, which means it had two 7,200 pound axles. It weighed 13,800 empty. So follow my cursor here. So she had only 600 pounds of capacity left. So how do you put the horses in there? She says, my anxiety went through the roof last night. Okay, here's the reality. We're on the right-hand side. Now, GVWR, remember at the beginning, we said most manufacturers stamp the axle capacity, not the max load, because we don't really factor in the tongue weight. So the tongue weight transfers off the trailer axles back to the tow vehicle. In this scenario, she has 13,800 pounds of trailer, two horses at 2,600 pounds, 500 pounds worth of gear, and if my math is correct, 13, 14, 15, she's had 16,900 pounds loaded. How are you going to carry almost 17,000 pounds on a trailer that's only rated to haul 14.4? And it's tongue weight. Remember in the CAT scale, and we'll look at that in just a second, the tongue weight is 4,800 pounds in a round number. So if you take the 14.4 GVWR minus the 12,000 pounds worth of weight on the axles, that was verified on that CAT scale, and she would have 2,320 pounds of capacity left. So even fully loaded, yes, the trailer was more than it was adequately equipped to safely haul that load that's in there. So great question on that, but almost a 5,000 pound tongue weight.
Yeah, that's where I mean, it's just because the length of the wheelbase on that one with that larger LQ and it being a two horse, and the reverse load, so it had the side ramp, which pushes the axles a little bit back too. Crazy.
I'm going to scroll back up just a slide or two. I don't know if our audience can see this, but this is a bad picture. Maybe we can get a better one, but you can see the side ramp, okay, in this front stall. The axles are right here. I saw one of our guests that registered for the webinar mention something about need a specific trailer length. Well, if we're only going on the trailer length, that's really not going to be the true story, because let's just say this trailer is 25 feet long and the axles are all the way to the back end because it's got that side ramp. You can't put an axle where a side ramp is. If the trailer didn't have the side ramp, this same 25-foot long trailer. I don't know what the dimensions are, but we're going to say it's 25. The axles on the trailer would be farther forward. So it would be a shorter wheelbase. Same length trailer, but the location would vary as to where those axles go. So when you're looking at trailers, I would focus less on how big the trailer is, and I would focus more on the wheelbase. Wheelbase meaning what I consider the distance from the front tire on the trailer to the gooseneck coupler, which would be the back tire of your tow vehicle. Because you have to think when you're swinging in and out of horse shows and gas stations and your driveway at the house and your barn, that wheelbase is going to make a huge difference. Look at an 18 wheeler when they turn the corner, they have an extremely long wheelbase. Okay, this is the CAT scale. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail on that. I think that we have covered that very well, but basically, drive axle was 4,080 pounds on the left. Okay, steer axle, I interpret that to be the front tire, is 5,260, and here it's 5,260. The drive axle, I interpret that to be the back tire, 4,080. And then when they weighed it with the trailer hooked up, it went to 8,900 pounds. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where we got the 40 some hundred pounds of tongue weight.
4820.
4820 on the tongue weight. Okay. And then the gross weight of 9340 versus the 23,140. The difference between those two numbers actually gave us the trailer weight, and we've got that listed down at the bottom. So your 23 minus your 93 number, that's why the trailer weighed 13,800 pounds. So in order to connect the dots on all of these things, you have to know what your trailer weighs. You have to know what the tongue weight is. You need to know what the payload is on the tow vehicle, and you may have to take it to a scale depending on what it is. Now, we were talking about why some manufacturers don't list it. There are a few that do. GMC is
They're
the one that comes to mind. They put it right
they're
on the
pretty
door
good.
jamb. Yeah, they say, "Hey, this is what it'll pull. This is what it'll carry." All you got to do
Yeah.
is look at this. Look at the door sticker,
The other
and
ones though, you see
oh, there we
like
go.
the the meme where you have the person in the chalkboard and all the math equations. It's about what it feels like trying to figure out what the payload is on some of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. If you just take the square root of the summation times pi divided by 3.14 times 73, that's going to give you the average run. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. We have a question from Deborah here. So it says the shorter the wheelbase, the easier the easy to move around back into corners.
The shorter the wheelbase, the closer that the trailer is going to follow the back tires of the tow vehicle. That's what that would mean. So if you were to get out in a dirt horse pasture or a field rather, okay, that's cut up. There's no grass, there's no anything. You can actually see the tire tracks. And you were to drive out in the field, cut the wheel just as sharp as you could turn it on the tow vehicle and make the circle. So you'd be able to see where the circle of the front tires and the back tires of the vehicle went, and then where the circle of the front tires of the trailer went. The longer that distance is, that wheelbase, right? The more that you're going to have to swing out to keep that circle the same for the trailer tire. So to answer your question, yes, shorter the wheelbase makes makes it a little bit easier in driving forward. As far as going in reverse, for me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. For some, it probably would. I don't really have a better answer to that question, but I can back up a really long trailer just as good as I can back up a short one. In fact, the shorter one will cut with you a little bit quicker than what the longer one. So I would almost argue the longer wheelbase might be a little bit easier backing, the shorter wheelbase a little bit easier going forward. Maybe some folks can weigh in on that too.
Great question. Thanks, Deborah.
All right, we were talking, oh, we said GMC. This is a door jam that someone sent to us. Thank you very much. And it lists, look at there, curb weight, right? 8,800 pounds is what the vehicle weighs. Payload, this thing will carry 5,000 pounds. and it looks like it will pull 20,000 pounds. And they're saying a max tongue weight of okay, a max.
You got a bumper pull variation
That's
and then
right.
a gooseneck.
I see it now. Okay, cause conventional tongue weight rating would be for the bumper pull. So they're saying you could put 2,000 pounds worth of hitch on the bumper. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes,
And then
that's correct.
for a gooseneck, which is this number, they're saying, hey, it'll pull 31,000 pounds. How about that? So in a bumper pull, they're saying it'll pull 20,000. In a gooseneck, they're saying it'll pull 31,000 pounds. And you can put 4,600 pounds of tongue weight on a gooseneck. So I really like that. They break out the numbers different between the two. So kudos to GMC, man. They've just started doing that in the last few years, and I hope that it will force other manufacturers to do that. Back to Danielle, what was the bottom line on the tow vehicle? Did she get that
She
sorted?
got a different truck and she's all good to go. Love the trailer.
Oh, one of our webinar attendees or signups, they sent something in that says, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a 4 horse bumper pull, and I want to pull it with a half-ton truck or something like that." And Brooke threw in this slide for us because I thought it was important as a side note. Any trailer more than 3 horses, in my opinion, should always be in a gooseneck. Okay. It doesn't mean we can't build a 4 horse and you can pull it with the bumper, but you saw in the GM and this is a GM with
I
a,
believe that's an F3 or GMC Sierra 3500 is what
yeah,
that one was.
this one has a 5,000 pound payload. And remember earlier, Akil's F450 only had what, 4,800 pound payload?
Not even.
Not even that. So, and when you're looking at that tongue weight rating is much less. So yeah, I think you should just go with the gooseneck when you're trying to haul more than 3 horses. That's a safe recommendation. All right, Dana's trailer, the right way to do it. What happened with Miss Dana, Caleb? Bring us
So,
up to speed quickly.
yeah, so this one was a fun one. So Dana reached out a couple years ago, was looking to custom order a trailer, and she had a Honda Ridgeline, was trying to make it work with that. And then we spec'd out the trailer that she wanted, and which in an ideal world, we always recommend to spec out the trailer first and then work on the tow vehicle. Brad can maybe expand on that a little bit more. But we went through all of the things, built out the trailer, and her current truck would not work with what she had. And so she ended up ordering the trailer and then she upgraded to a truck that would fit the needs of the trailer instead of trying to do it the other way around, which is what most folks try to do.
I can't tell you in my 30 years of doing this, and Caleb's been doing this for several years now, but how many people's feelings have I hurt
Lots.
that are super excited? I just purchased my brand new ABCD vehicle. It has a blank 1,000 pound tow rating, and I want to buy a gooseneck with a living quarter. And I bought a half-ton pickup truck. And once we go through the numbers and we spec out their dream trailer that they want, and then their new vehicle that they just dropped a pretty penny on, a big chunk of change that they're so proud of, only to get their feelings hurt and figure out, hey, I really goofed up. My tow vehicle is not going to do what I wanted it to do, which is tow. Okay. So, in all of my life in selling trailers, I've always preached spec out your trailer needs first. Okay. Let's figure out how many horses do we need to haul? What size trailer do I need? There's a lot of variations on that. A 3 horse gooseneck can weigh 5,000 pounds. A 3 horse gooseneck can weigh 90 some hundred
Nine
pounds.
thousand, yeah, yeah, because it also depends on what size horse you have. You know that's a whole different thing, but that makes a huge difference in the size of the trailer, how wide it needs to be, how long it needs to be, which is going to impact your weight. So there's um a lot of variation in that for sure.
Not only that, the tongue weight. I mean, reverse loads have really caught on in recent years. That's probably 80% of our sales, and those side ramps definitely make for a longer wheelbase, right? We saw that in the other drawing, which increases the tongue weight quite a bit. So it's very important. Let's spec out the trailer first. Think about, what your long-term goals are because a trailer will last. The way these things are built, this day and time, you can get 30 years out of a trailer. And tow vehicles are a dime a dozen, let's face it. They're on every corner. So uh, definitely figure out the trailer you want and then go purchase a tow vehicle that will do that. So Dana, congratulations. She did it correctly. She was planning on getting the Ridgeline. Found out that
No,
it.
she already had the Ridgeline.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was trying to make it work. And most folks, when they go through that and we spec it out, they're like, "Oh man, well, I didn't want to do anything different, so I'm just going to get a different trailer." And then they end up, you know, trying to fit their. I think she had a warm blood trying to fit a warm blood into one of those tiny shoe boxes, and yeah, she did it the right way. She spec'd it out and then got the truck to match. That's the trailer that would work for her horses.
Okay. That is something else that I've seen many, many times over the years are folks that are determined to shove the round peg in the square hole or vice versa. It's like, hey, this is what I have for a tow vehicle. I need you guys to build a trailer that will fit that. And it never works. It never, never, ever, ever works. So, yeah. And then the conversation is, well, this trailer's too heavy. I need a lightweight trailer. This particular trailer here weighs 3,500 pounds. Yours weighs 4,500 pounds. So I'm going to go buy the 3,500-pound trailer to make my tow vehicle work with the numbers I've got. And I didn't mean to get off on this topic or subject, but pardon my French, that is a bonehead decision, in my opinion. We actually put that in our book that we wrote. When you're looking at purchasing a horse trailer, if you have two identical trailers, both 16 feet long, same height, same width, all of those things, one weighs 4,000 pounds, one weighs 3,000 pounds, do the math. Unless that 3,000-pound manufacturer built that trailer using rocket science, advanced material, carbon fiber, space shuttle type stuff, that's the only way that they're going to save on that much weight. The other way, guess what? Is to put less material, less bracing, probably single wall, not insulated, thinner tubing. You can't tell how thick a piece of tubing is by look at it. So don't get caught up in the trailer weight scenario. My opinion, when you're looking for a horse trailer, get the heaviest thing that you can find. The more stuff that you have surrounding your horse in that almost like your tow vehicle, okay, your protective safety cage, the more that you have surrounding your horse, the safer your load's going to be. Um, I did an interview, and this is our next webinar coming up on horse trailer accidents. Anyway, it's down the list, but we did a recent interview with Amy down in Florida. You should see her trailer. It rolled over. It was one of ours. It held together very well. And so we'll be talking about those things quite a bit. So definitely jump in on that.
Got a question from Debbie. So she says, what about the hitch rating on the truck? So I guess specifically if you're looking like a bumper pull, um, can you tell us a little bit about why there's two different ratings on hitches and kind of what that looks like?
Yeah. So a load is only as safe as the weakest link. I can have a chain. Wish I had something visual to show you guys on my desk here, but I don't. But I could have a chain. You guys know what a chain looks like. Let's say one that's used in the logging industry. Big chains. The linkages are larger than the diameter of my thumb. They can drag trees and bulldozers and all that. And then right in the middle of that chain, I've got one little link that connects them together that is about the size of my pinky finger. It's half the size of the rest of them. Well, guess what? That big chain that is so strong is only as strong as that weakest link. And tow vehicle equations are no different. If it can't pull what it should, if it can't carry what it should, and then also the hitch rating. It's a great question. In a gooseneck, it's not quite as important because pretty much every gooseneck hitch that is made today is rated to haul 25 or 30,000 pounds. B&W, the turnover ball, the Fulton couplers, the Atwood, all of those guys, Reese hitches. So it's not so much the rating on the gooseneck, but the bumper pull. Again, Remember, manufacturers today, particularly on bumpers, SUVs, we get into a lot of trouble trying to talk about SUVs with clients because they're determined to use their new, Porsche something that they purchased, and it's got this rinky-dink hitch on the back that's just not rated to do it. So the hitch also has to be adequately rated. And vehicle manufacturers will often they'll save a few dollars on those hitches and they'll put the skimpy hitch on there that doesn't have enough capacity as to what it should. So generally, there's a sticker on the hitch itself. You could squat down on one knee, look up underneath the tow vehicle, snap a picture of that, and it'll usually give you two numbers, three numbers. One number is the total capacity of the hitch. Let's just say it's an 8,000 pound capacity hitch. The second number is they're going to say tongue weight. It's usually written TW, and maybe the tongue weight is 1,000 pounds. So that's how much the vertical pin weight you can put on that hitch without overloading it. But then they'll throw in a third rating that says tongue weight with weight distribution. And if you're not familiar with the weight distribution system, shoot us an email, and we've got a lot of material that we can send back to you on that will help better explain it. I don't have any visuals to show you right now, but basically, what weight distribution does. Remember the airbags we talked about earlier? This is my tow vehicle now. It's level. When I put the trailer on it, it's going to go down. So what that did is it put more pressure on the back tires of my truck, less downforce on the front tires of my tow vehicle. If I'm trying to swerve to miss the Yahoo in front of me that just slammed on brakes or the deer that ran out, I don't have as much stability because I have less downward pressure on the front tires. Weight distribution is going to do this. It's going to lift that vehicle back up, throw back to the front steer tire on the tow vehicle, and increase the stability of your load. So, great question. Two numbers on a bumper pull hitch or a receiver hitch, rather, would be the tongue weight rating and the tongue weight rating with weight distribution. And with weight distribution, most of the time, and the ones that we've seen, that number is always higher. And unless it's a lot of additional capacity, like you've got an F-350 with a big tongue weight rating, you're only hauling a small trailer, we generally recommend weight distribution for almost every bumper pull scenario.
Yeah, I mean, particularly an SUV is always going to need weight distribution. And then in part of that too, with the weight distribution, which I think we get into this on the next one, um, it also helps because some of those have like sway bars, so that can provide some stability. But with the trucks, even, I work with a lot of folks that are doing like 2 horse bumper pulls, and they're hauling with like a half ton. So Dodge Ram 1500 or Ford F-150, and the hitch rating on those standard has like a 500 or 600 pound tongue weight capacity without weight distribution. And then with weight distribution, it's like 1200. So it's usually like double. So they advertise it that you can pull this trailer, but they don't really focus the weight distribution aspect either.
I like it. Okay, last case scenario, and we'll let you guys go. You've been so patient. I notice almost everyone that joined with us is still on the webinar. So just thank you for taking the time to do that. Give us the quick rundown for, I wanted to cut this off at 45 minutes and we've hit it. So we'll do a quick rundown on Catherine search, the SUV trap. What do we got, Caleb?
Yeah, so we've kind of talked about some of this stuff, but we had a customer reach out. Catherine, we've been talking. She initially was looking, she has a Land Rover Defender and was trying to figure out if that would work for what she is hauling. And we went through all the specs. Again, she spec'd out the trailer to see, and it didn't. And now she's looking at something different for tow vehicle that would work for the trailer that she's looking to get.
Okay, so let me look through all this. So you've been working with Catherine, the Land Rover Defender V8. I do know that those brag about how much horsepower they have. Tow rating 8,200 pounds. Plenty for a 2 horse bumper pull. I would agree with that. Max tongue weight This was with weight distribution,
That's
820,
correct.
820 pounds was the max. And the particular trailer that she was looking at was a reverse load two horse safe tack, which has an empty tongue weight of 800 pounds. So she was at the top end of her rated capacity. The payload on the tow vehicle, that means what it can carry. By the time she took an 820-pound tongue weight plus her two passengers, she would really be maxing that vehicle out. Not to say that it wouldn't have done the job, but I always tell folks you can do something over and over and over, and you never have a problem with it until you have a problem. And so when we start to push the limit on things, yeah, maybe it'll do it. It's just not smart to do. Now, let's look at the Lexus. Is this what she ended up with?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so tongue weight rating 900. It was a little bit more. The tow rating was about 1,000 pounds more, so she had slight cushion over that. Do you know what her payload is on that Lexus? It's higher than 1,300. I've seen those
I
before.
think it was like 15.
Okay, we should have looked that information up. Sorry, guys. But so point being, don't just get caught up into the pretty and the wow of a tow vehicle and then try to make the trailer fit into that. Just make sure that the tow vehicle is safely rated. And a lot of you, a tremendous amount of you sent questions on, hey, I have X tow vehicle, I have this trailer, will it pull it? So we'll be responding to you guys. I know a lot of us have already been corresponding, so thank you via email or text, and Caleb's been working with you. But we definitely want to answer each and every one of your questions. So please send those to us if we haven't responded, and we'll go through the process. We'll probably ask for pictures and stickers and all of those things. All right. What does it say? The under $25 answer. Oh, I like this. Thank you, Brooke, for making this. Take your truck and trailer to a CAT scale. Weigh the truck by itself. Number one. That means all the axles on the scale, no trailer attached. This is what your truck weighs. Number one. Number two, hook the trailer up. Keep the trailer tires off the scale and the vehicle tires on the scale. So we still only have the vehicle setting there. The only thing that we've done is just added the trailer to it. That's going to tell us the tongue weight. And then number three, pull the truck off and then weigh the trailer with the weight on the trailer axles. And so you can add that tongue weight from number two and get your total trailer weight even with the tongue weight on there. So the CAT scale will certainly tell the story. And I brought this up when we were in Ohio. Someone asked us, one of the worst sources of information, some of the biggest lies that I've ever heard told in my entire life was either from a salesman at an automobile lot or a horse trailer dealer. In fact, we did a undercover, so to speak, one time on a dealer that was selling bumper pull horse trailers with living quarters, and they advertised the tongue weight at like 12 or 1,300 pounds, which is just nothing but a blatant lie. And I kept prodding those guys, trying to get the tongue weight, trying to get the tongue weight, and they finally came out and we figured out what the true tongue weight was, and it was over 2,000 pounds. So I'm not saying that every horse trailer dealer in the United States is going to shoot you the fluff like that, the fluff, because it's not true, but many will. And when it comes to tow vehicle sales folks, only thing they want to do is sell a vehicle, right? They get paid on commission. And so when you ask the question about this Land Rover Defender, oh yeah, it'll pull it, no problem. And then when you go to the dealer lot and the dealer's like, oh yeah, it'll pull it, hook it up, no problem. Just be wary. Make sure that you know your numbers. And it's your job to do the research. Don't rely on them.
Yeah, we had somebody that actually said the cat scales will weigh everything separately, so you don't even have to disconnect the truck and trailer. They have the scales to do those separate axles.
Nope. So what to remember? Stop looking at the horse count. Start looking at the horse weight plus the trailer weight. Ignore the tow package badge. They all advertise that. Oh, it's got the tow package. What the heck does that mean? Check the tongue weight rating and the payload sticker. If it doesn't have it, oftentimes you could get up with General Motors, Ford, Dodge, Toyota.
Yeah.
They have towing specialists where you can call the number with your VIN and they'll provide that information to you. Is that right? I think I've heard you do that.
Yeah, or I mean, send the VIN and we can look at that too. We'd be happy to look.
Pulling is muscle, carrying is your spine, and your spine is what fails first. Any trailer more than 3 horses should always be in a gooseneck, and do the math before you buy, not after. Brooke, do we have maybe one more question we want to answer quickly? Anything? If not, we'll wrap it up here because these folks have been so kind to us and they want to go.
I think most of the questions you're going to need to follow up with because you need some more information to answer them accurately.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for your time. Get your free copy of our book. We don't sell books, we give those things away. And it's just a great resource. Mute your mic, Brooke. Echo in here. It's a great resource. We've had so many folks to reach out and say, thank you so much for this book. It's not a sales book. We don't try to sell you anything at all, I promise. In fact, we mention many other brands of trailers in the book that we give a 2 thumbs up to. So WTtrailers.com/free book. We'd be happy to send that to you. And if you have specific questions on towing, we're very responsive to text and email, or just book a call, WTtrailers.com/book a video call. We like doing video calls because then we can show visuals on the screen and send links and things of that nature. So thank you so much, guys. Have a fantastic day.